As students of NIC, we all have something to lose if NIC loses its accreditation. I spent countless hours researching the history of North Idaho College's community support, as well as following along with the accreditation saga throughout the years. It's become very clear to me that NIC's very existence has been built upon community support, and its downfall might come from within the community too. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about the community's role in NIC's creation, even in the midst of the Great Depression, what it means for a college to be accredited, and the ongoing show cause sanction against NIC due to the actions of community elected governing board members and what it means for us as students. So let's begin. When we think about the Great Depression, we think of extreme poverty, high rates of unemployment, closed businesses, and foreclosed homes. Per the Federal Reserve Board, this extreme economic downturn lasted from 1929 to 1941. In 1933, in the midst of the Great Depression, a man named Lawrence Breakmeyer convinced the entire community in Coeur d'Alene that higher education is essential. According to an article by Laura Upton in the Spokesman Review, the first version of NIC was created and classes were started at the third floor of City Hall in Coeur d'Alene, and it operated under the name Coeur d'Alene Junior College. This was a private venture funded by the community. In 1939, with the community support, North Idaho College became Idaho's Northern Region Junior College, recognized by the state. This authorized and allocated state funding and local property taxes to support the college. This also means that North Idaho College is, you guessed it, the only community college in North Idaho. Per NIC's website in 1946, the community came through again, with the Minton family donating the land that NIC currently sits on for the college's use. This location holds such a historical significance to this region, as it was first known as the gathering place for the indigenous people of the Coeur d'Alene tribe. Then later on, it became the location for Fort Sherman. It's also prime real estate and lakefront property. Colleges flourished in this location, and in 1950, it received its accreditation from the Northwest Commission on Colleges and Universities. Now let's talk about what it really means to be accredited. In an article in Idaho Ed News, Kevin Riker outlines that what accreditation does for NIC. And basically what that means is accreditation allows the state and other colleges and universities to recognize the education that NIC provides to its students. Specific programs like dual enrollment are possible because of accreditation. State and federal financial aid are also contingent upon accreditation. Students are able to transfer their credits to other colleges and universities because of accreditation. The low tuition rates that result from state and federal funding and property taxes are also contingent upon accreditation. All this to really say is accreditation is really important to every student enrolled, and it leads me to my final point. The Northwest Commission of Colleges and Universities show cause sanction against NIC and how we got to this point. As you can see on my screen here, there's just a few article headlines for articles around the issue. Ever since the pandemic, there seems to be a shift in community perception regarding public education, with increasing scrutiny and condemnation against these public institutions. In an article written for Inside Higher Ed, this first shift was noticed when community elected board members consisting of an uber conservative majority and battling against liberalism and wokeness started making waves in 2021 when they fired the then college presidents without just cause. Since then, the board has continued making eye-raising and costly actions, such as repeatedly trying to fire the college presidents, hiring controversial legal representation, violating public meeting law, failing to comply with public records requests, and refusing to comply with judges' orders. In addition to having to pay for these costly lawsuits, these actions have ultimately caused the State Board of Education to step in and for the NWCCU to issue a show cause sanction against NIC this last July, with orders for the board and the school's administration to start acting cohesively together. North Idaho College has a year to prove to the Northwest Commission on Colleges and Universities that they can turn things around, or they will lose their accreditation. Most recently, members of the NWCCU conducted a site visit to the college in November, where they issued an update that was covered by the Spokesman Review, saying that the school's administration has shown moves to fix and make progress, but the board has made little to no progress. And with the continuing lawsuits and questionable actions of the board, it doesn't look like any progress is going to be made anytime soon. NIC's very existence has been built on community support, and its downfall might come from within the community too. I hope I've given you a better understanding of how the community has played a role in NIC's existence, what it means for a college to be accredited, and how the actions of the current board might actually lead to NIC's downfall. I truly believe the reason North Idaho College has survived for almost 100 years is because the community has historically always believed in the value of public education. It's startling to think that even in the midst of the Great Depression, the community said yes to education and was willing to put what little money they had into it. We live in a very different political and societal climate today, and I'm not sure that our community would be able to have the same vision of those who came generations before us and be able to make that same investment despite their current struggles. But without our community support and a push for change on the board, NIC might just be looking at the end. Is there any questions? Anybody have a question for me?
How long did you say they have before their accreditation would be taken away?
So in July, WCCU gave them a year, but I've read in articles that they can even push it as far out to as April 2025.
So does it affect people that have already graduated?
You already have your
Certificate?
yeah, there's no way that they can go contact people who have their bachelor's degree after the fact and say, oh, psych, gotta go back to school for 2 more years.
So would it behoove the students that are there right now, would it be best for them to look elsewhere to finish their college now so that they can still use NIC's credits? Or will those be taken away on the people that are there right now?
So I had met with my advisor, and they had a lot of good plans and resources, contingency plans in place to try to support the students that are in there. So I don't think it's like time for alarm to, or even try to finish or, go somewhere else. At the end of the day, this is the only community college here. So if you're looking for lower tuition rates, and some people just can't afford it. I know I can't afford to go to, Washington and pay out-of-state tuition. So I think NIC does have a plan, a contingency plan in place, and hope that will help students transition and be able to keep their units. But if you're somebody who maybe is just starting your educational venture, maybe question it a little bit.
So speaking of starting, what about the kids in high school that are dual enrolled? What is that gonna do to them?
So there's some kids there's a lot of these dual enrollment kids, and they're in my classes, and some of them, they're like already gonna graduate high school with their AA, and they're moving through, so that's really cool, and it's free for them anyway, so there's not a whole lot for them to lose, I don't think.
Unless that accreditation is pulled before they graduate, and then they may lose all those credits.
Potentially. But like I said, I think NIC has a plan in place to support the students too. I think this is all unprecedented too. I would imagine at the state level, they're not even quite sure what to do with it, 'cause it's never happened.
Is the board elected or appointed?
Board is elected by our community.
Oh.
So it's very important to remember to go vote in these elections.
You'd like to look at the background of people before you vote for them.
Yes.
You know when the next election is to vote someone out?